Alright, here is a check for understanding for you on the lesson on circles. There are 3 questions here, well 4, and I'm going to have you attempt each question on your own, and then afterwards have you type in your response, followed by actually showing you the correct answers. So let's look at question number 1. For question number 1, they're asking us to find the center and the radius of the given equation. Alright, so what I would like you to do now is think about what the center is and type in your response. Alright, the correct response would be positive 3, negative 2. Just reverse the signs with the letter that's connected to the number. Next, I'd like you to find the radius in question 1a. And you can type in that response now. Okay, the radius is equal to the square root of the number at the end of the equation, so the radius would be 5. Okay, moving on to question 1b. Let's do the same thing with question 1b. I'm going to give you an opportunity to tell me what the center is. Give me the x and y coordinate of the center. You can type that in now. The correct answer is 0, negative 7. There's no number that's being added or subtracted to that x. And since this is 7, we're going to reverse it and make it negative 7. Next, I want you to type in the radius. Find the radius of this equation and type in the answer now. The answer is the square root of 100, which is simply just 10. Moving on to question number 2. Question number 2 is in reverse. In question number 2, I'm giving you the center and the radius, and I want you to tell me what the equation is. To help you with question number 2, remember in question number 1 we actually did it in reverse. We started with the equation, and from the equation we get the center and the radius. Now, if we had the radius and we had the center, how do you work yourself back up to an equation? So we're going to try to write one of these equations, or maybe something like this, for this information. And you can write your answer to the response now. Here's the solution. Since it was negative 2 for the x, I would write x plus 2 squared. It's always going to be a plus sign in between the x and the y pieces to this equation. Since it was a positive 4, I'm going to use a negative 4 squared next to the y. And then finish it up with the radius. Well, if the radius is 10, if I square 10, I end up getting the number that goes on the equation, which would be 100. So the final answer would be this equation right here. Okay, and the final question, we're asked to find the equation of a circle again, but we are not given the center, and we're not given the radius. All we're given are 2 endpoints to the diameter of a circle. So just a little help on this question, getting it started for you. The first thing we want to find out is what the center of that circle is. We also want to find out what the radius is equal to. This is the most advanced question that I think I can kind of come up with for this class, because both of these 2 pieces of information are not given. So you can stay with me for the very beginning here as we graph the 2 endpoints for this circle. We get negative 5, 4. It's one of our endpoints. We'll call it point A. And our other endpoint is 3, negative 2. And call that point B. What I'd like you to do, based on this information and based on this graph, is locate the midpoint of the diameter. because the midpoint would be the center. You can do this now, and you can type in your answer. Okay, the correct answer. Well, one way to get the midpoint or the center of the circle is by just inspecting the picture and taking a look at the patterns that exist. This is as far as a slope, down 2, 4, 6, down 6, over 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, over 8. If that's the overall pattern for the diameter, to find the center, we just need to take half as many steps to get there. So going down 3 over 4 will give you the midpoint or the center of that circle. And hopefully you got the answer correct, as being -1, +1. Next, I'd like you to find the radius. To find the radius, remember there are a couple options. You can use the Pythagorean theorem. You could also use the Pythagorean trick, or any other device that your teachers have given you. So find out the distance of the radius, and that would be the distance from the center to this endpoint here, or the radius is also from the center to this endpoint here. So find this distance, and you can type in your answer now. Okay, the distance. Well, if the pattern is down 3 over 4, we can use that as our two measurements for A and B. You'll end up with 9 plus 16 under the radical, or radical 25. So you end up getting a radius that's equal to 5. So radius is equal to 5. Okay, last step is to find the equation of that circle. And why don't you do that now? Figure out what the equation is going to be, and perhaps you'd be able to type it into the computer. If not, just pause the video and wait to see what I got. Alright, so the answer to the question would be x plus 1 squared. I took the opposite of -1 and made it +1. With the equation of a circle, it's going to be plus again with a y. The y is 1 for the center, so I'm going to use -1 in the equation with a squared. And then finally I need the number at the end. Well, if the radius was 5, I take the radius squared, and that would be the number that I put at the end of the equation, which would be 25. Alright, hopefully you did this and it worked out okay, and if not, maybe you caught some areas where you need to make some improvements on. Thank you for watching, and keep up the good work.